to another episode of the Member Spotlight. If you don't know what this is a new tag series where we chat to different members within the tag community to talk about all things digital advertising and then some. I'm Vanessa Goff-Yu, your host of this episode, and today I'm chatting to Erika Foster from Magna EMEA, part of the IPG Mediabrands network. Hi Erika, how are you? How's things?
Yeah, really good. Thank you so much for chatting with me today. But yeah, all good here. I've just come back from 2 weeks holiday and I'm feeling really relaxed, so it's good.
Where'd you come back from?
Nowhere. I spent 2 weeks in London, but I picked probably the best 2 weeks of the year to stay in London because the weather was fantastic. I got a tan and it was just nice and relaxing. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not been a drop of rain in London the last 2 weeks,
Yeah.
has there?
Yeah.
Insane.
It's been great. It's been
Insane.
great.
Yeah, and getting a tan, I think that's more and more common in London now, whereas like 5 or 6 years before, it's like, I still need a jacket in the middle of
Yeah.
June.
Yeah. I mean, last year I got burnt, so I mean, it's definitely a new experience having to put on, suntan lotion in the UK for me. Definitely.
Yeah, part of the daily regime.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, for those who don't know you, Erika, can you just give us a little bit of a background of you and the people that you work for, the business
Yeah,
that you
sure.
work for, even?
The people. So I'm Erika Foster. I'm Director of Standards and Investment Products EMEA. I work for Magna, which is the intelligence engine, I guess, which is part of IPG Mediabrands. Um, Essentially, my role is really to set best practice and guidelines for the region of EMEA when it comes to media standards, so things like brand safety, as well as media responsibility and just general media quality as well. IPG Mediabrands is obviously a global media agency network, and we are active in basically all regions.
Cool. So obviously you work in the EMEA team for Magna.
Mhm.
So looking specifically into the European market,
Mm.
what kind of sense are you getting from clients about protection against threats, specifically around malware, ad fraud, and any sort of like brand safety risk?
Yeah, so there's definitely been an increase of concern from our clients in these areas. Where previously a lot of our clients, they were happy enough with knowing that their campaigns were protected by, third party verification technology. There's a lot more clients asking more questions, taking a vested interest in understanding their reporting, how their campaigns are being set up on DSPs, how they're being set up on ad servers, and also what we're doing to optimize away from threats of malware or potential brand safety incidences. Specifically in Europe, you know we're seeing a lot more interest from new business as well. So previously, when we were doing pitches for new clients, questions around our processes in these areas tended to be predominantly in the UK for larger clients or larger market pitches. Now we're seeing smaller clients in smaller markets asking us to delve deeper into how we work with partners to improve, ad fraud levels or just general questions around how we approach brand safety. So, clearly it's definitely becoming a lot more of a hot topic with these smaller clients in Europe.
So it's really interesting to hear that, even from Magna, IPG Mediabrands, that, the bigger companies and the smaller companies or medium to smaller companies are actively doing and working towards a more safe, brand safe, advertising safe environment for their clients. So that's really, really great to hear. So going on from that, do your clients have any specific requirements when it comes to protecting their ad spend and brand reputation from potential harms?
Yeah, so we have a lot of clients who have actual specific terms built into our contracts with them. So they explicitly state what type of content they'd be happy to be seen against, and content they definitely do not want to be shown against under any circumstances, as well as some explicit asks around the bare minimum tech that should be used on their campaigns and different levels of fraud they would accept. Obviously, no one wants any fraud, but we have to be realistic that there might be, 0.002% on a campaign here and there. With brand safety settings, this of course varies, from client to client. A kids toy company will have, a much more conservative and stricter approach to brand safety than maybe a gambling client. But with all that said, all clients will have very similar expectations around ad fraud and malware, in that no client wants to be seen, supporting it or wasting their budget on it.
And do you see any sort of like specific sort of market trends within their requirements as well?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't even say it's necessarily a trend. I'd say kind of what I was saying earlier, that more clients are cotton onto it. So there's a lot more explicit expectations and metrics and dimensions around what they would accept on campaigns, such as levels on ad fraud, levels of viewability, things like that. And that's been more explicitly written into contracts. But I'd say as soon as bigger schemes might be uncovered, et cetera, that's when clients might talk to us about it. But it's never explicitly stated, I'd say, in their requirements from us.
And in terms of country specific kind of requirements and requests, do you think that, or are they at the moment for you guys all kind of the same? Are there countries who are more sort of, no, I want your best protection against ad fraud, or your best protect, or whatever you do with brand safety, we want absolutely everything thrown at it?
Yeah, I think it differs from market to market. There'll be markets that, put a lot more budget in programmatic buying, for example, and those are the clients that, and the countries, sorry, that definitely want the highest levels of protections on those markets where there's a lot more direct to publisher bookings, like markets like the Nordics, etc., where those protections they expect to be built in on the fact that they booked a specific type of media, they booked with a very specific publisher, where they would have less strict controls or less strict expectations on us in terms of the protections we put on it, just because they feel that safety comes as a basic expectation of the way they've booked that media. I'd say in Europe as a whole, though, we're definitely quite savvy compared to markets such as APAC around ad fraud, etc. And as I say, I think the biggest influence on whether a client's or clients' expectations on setup tends to be about that buying mechanism and whether or not they do more direct deals versus via programmatic, where obviously you can buy across hundreds and thousands of URLs on one campaign.
Okay, cool. So changing the conversation a little bit and switching it to talking about your platinum status. So you guys and Mediabrands are part of a small group within the tag community who have achieved the platinum status. And for those of you who don't know what platinum status is, it's basically you or members achieving all of the sales that are currently on offer from tag. So from Mediabrands, Magna, IPG perspective, why is this sort of status so important to you guys, and what does the status mean for you guys as well?
So I guess to answer that question, it might make sense for us to talk through what we had to go through to be able to achieve that. So in order to achieve that platinum status, we needed to go through, of course, a rigorous audit with a third-party auditor to ensure, our processes met the high standards that obviously tag set as part of their certification process. And as we were completing that at global level as well, we had to demonstrate to those auditors that we had consistent processes across all our businesses in all regions. So it's important to us because it's allowed us to get that independent validation that our ways of working are best in class and consistent globally. And we found that recently, a lot of those larger global clients are starting to ask for that independent validation of their agencies. So we're happy we're ahead of the curve there, and it means that we can give those clients, that extra bit of reassurance that, hey, we have these processes in place. We can show you them, but also you can see that this independent body tag has actually validated them, and that you can feel reassured in that.
That's really interesting that you're seeing that more clients are asking for more independent validation. Is this like for you guys, is this more of a recent thing? Has this always been the case?
I think when especially when you're doing business at a local level, there'd be those odd clients here and there that might, explicitly state, hey, we need you to be certified with these bodies, or you need to be part of the IAB Gold initiative, for example. But definitely in the last 2 years, when we started pitching for larger clients, there's definitely been an expectation from their end that the agencies that they work with should be validated in this way.
Okay, great to hear, obviously.
Yeah.
So switching the conversation again a little bit more and thinking about digital advertising as an industry as a whole, I personally feel like the industry and the word innovation kind of go hand in hand in some ways. Like things that come to mind, the rise of programmatic, which was like the next step of RTV. Everyone talking about AI now. It's more sort of like the second or third, maybe even the 100th rising of AI at the moment. New channels like digital audio coming through, as well as gaming. From IPG Mediabrands, Magna, in recent years, what's been sort of the most exciting innovations, or trends or hype or buzz, whatever you like to call it, that kind of make you kind of think, oh my gosh, this could potentially be the next big thing here, and we really need to figure this out?
Yeah. I think, a lot of people would answer this question by saying AI. I personally think, obviously, there's a lot happening in that space, but how we'd use it in advertising, I still think it's in its infancy. We haven't quite cracked it yet. I think a lot of the platforms, obviously like Facebook, Meta, etc. There's a lot of use cases in there from their point of view when it comes to like content moderation. But I'd say from more thinking from a client's hat, obviously it'll differ from client to client what excites them most in this space, because it's gonna be where their target audiences are. But I do think in general, a lot of clients have started asking about audio. Digital audio, it tends to be coming a lot up more in conversations more and more, especially when it comes to brand safety conversations. But podcasts are certainly increasing in popularity across the globe, and the pure amount of content that's being produced, I think will eventually, or if it's not already, rival the amount of video content that we see uploaded to YouTube on a daily basis. It feels like every celebrity at the moment has one or two podcasts to their name. Podcasts are also really easy to produce. So there's lots of hobbyist podcasters out there creating their own shows from the comfort of their own home. The equipment is becoming more affordable, and that means there's a lot more niche or unique content, that finds a very specific following. So I think from my point of view, and I'd say from a client's point of view, I think we're excited to understand how we can target even smaller audiences around their interests, and the options that will be available to us to target that programmatically, etc. Yeah.
And do you think that whatever the innovation is, whatever the new emerging channel will be, the key to unlocking all of those target audiences and the contextual element of it is programmatic?
Yeah, I do think so. I think obviously we still need to get to a place where we feel, I think the biggest part of it is unlocking actual brand safety. So, there's going to be and there already is tons and tons of content being uploaded into these podcast platforms and audio streaming platforms. But where we're falling short in trying to unlock budgets across that is one, that the targeting and understanding what targeting is available. So that's where the programmatic comes in. But also, how can we feel we get that level of brand safety that we've kind of already got on more text-based websites, right? We have these third-party verification providers who've been assessing, text on page for years, maybe even decades already. But how are we going to then translate that to audio? Because language when you write is very, very specific. Language when you're just chatting on a specific podcast, on a specific, topic, That language can be very specific to that topic. It could be very specific to the market in which that podcast was produced. So we all have different, slang, different terms that are okay to say in one country and maybe not okay to say in the other. So I think once we have better brand safety options available in that space, I think we'll unlock budgets there, but also programmatic, as you say, the more availability in terms of what we can access programmatically, what we can target programmatically as well will unlock that space.
Great, awesome. So my penultimate question to you, what advice would you give to any tag member or, prospective tag member about engaging tag, but also leveraging as much of tag as possible?
Yeah, I'd say once you remember, definitely get involved. So obviously these seals and the platinum status, it's a great and useful product and offering, and I say way to validate what you're doing in your business, and to make sure that it can be a point of difference between you and potentially a competitor in the space when you are pitching for clients. But I would say, the team also creates so much great content. There's lots of sharing of updates around potential, fraud schemes. They also host things like working groups where there's a lot of open discussions and chances to connect with other professionals in the space. So I think it's great to get these seals, but making sure that when the tag team reach out or make available these different working groups, it's about just getting involved and making sure that you're meeting people in this space and staying abreast of all the updates.
Thank you very much. So we're now to the best part of the interview. Joking. This is Tag's 10 questions, which is basically a quick fire round of 10 questions, random things, and hopefully we'll get to know a little bit more about you, Erika.
Yeah.
So are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Hong Kong sevens or London sevens?
Hong Kong sevens for sure.
What binge-worthy TV series at the moment?
I'm watching Yellow Jackets at the moment, and it's fantastic. All female cast, a few males here and there, but really, really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Toto Africa or Stevie Nicks' Edge of 17?
I don't know Stevie Nicks' Edge of 17, so I'm gonna have to go with Toto Africa.
Fine. Favorite game of all time?
So Uncharted.
Dream holiday destination?
Hawaii.
Mulan or Lion King?
Lion King.
Must-haves if you go for dim sum?
I'm gonna be boring and say char siu bao just because everyone loves those little bao buns. And yeah, it's been my favorite for years. So I liked it before the trend started.
Fair. Go-to playlist for the gym or when you're warming up for training?
Oh, I'm really embarrassing. I really like Justin Bieber to work out to. It's not something I'd listen to in the car or wandering around, but to work out to, he's just really catchy and easy to work out to.
Which like era of Justin
All
Bieber?
of it. All the way from when he was literally 12 years old to whatever he released last week. I listened to the entire thing.
We have a
and his Christmas album is pretty good too to work out to.
Okay.
I'm embarrassed. I don't usually listen to him. Just to work out to.
Hey, if you're a believer, you're a believer. And then last question, favorite plant?
Plant.
A tree,
I'm just
an indoor plant, it could be anything.
I'm gonna have to go for a lily, just because it's my mom's favorite. It was always in our house, so it just reminds me of her.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Erika, and
yeah, no worries.
Catch you really soon.
Yeah, catch you soon. Thanks for having me.